I don't know of any mixed couple that has all of their children have dwarfism. It's not as common because a lot of times it's supposed to be 50-50. So a lot of times one average height parent and one parent who has dwarfism, they'll have at least one average height kid. I'm just convinced Zach's dwarf gene is very strong. Welcome back to another week of Raising Heights with Zach and Tori. I'm Tori.
I'm Zach.
Thanks for being here. Welcome back if you've been here before.
Yes.
Welcome if this is your first time. I'm excited about today's episode.
I am too.
Today we're going to talk about something that we are very passionate about.
Yes.
And that is parenting.
Parenting.
I think that parenting is a super broad range. So we're just going to see where today takes us and just kind of like scratch the surface just a little bit.
Yes, because I feel like every subject that I have in my head, off the top of my head, we can have a whole podcast on by itself.
We could just have a parenting podcast.
Yeah.
I think that...
we can have a whole podcast on it, not to mention multiple episodes.
Yeah. So. But before we dive into today's episode, we... here at Raising Heights like to do a little thing called Peak and Pit. It's just the highlight and the low light of our week. So what was your pit this week, Roloff?
Ooh, my pit was this weather kind of stinks again in Oregon. Came back from Dallas and it's just cold here and wet and 40 degrees and just kind of garbage. Yeah, that's kind of been the pit. I would agree there. But I was in Dallas for a couple of days, and then you were in Disneyland.
Yeah. So this podcast, we're a little bit, we're behind.
Yeah.
So,
if you're following us on Instagram very closely.
Yeah. But my pit was definitely, I think it goes along with our episode today. Parenting, sometimes I think we build up expectations, and sometimes those expectations aren't met. And poor Lila missed her Valentine's Day party this week. That was my pit.
Man.
She was so excited about her Valentine's Day party. And we still don't know if she was actually sick or if she just got overwhelmed and just couldn't do it.
She had to come home from school and she's just a little upset.
So that was a bummer. Yeah. That was a pit. But, managing expectations. It's one of the things you have to do as a parent.
Well, you were gone. That's what you were kind of feeling bad about.
And I'm not good at managing my expectations. I'm trying to be better.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah.
Dude, that's a great thing to publicly say also.
Yeah.
Hold Tori accountable, people.
What was your peak?
My peak?
Yeah, get out of here with those hold me accountable. What was your peak?
My peak, the Dallas trip, honestly. I had lots of peaks this week, honestly. The Dallas trip, went to the U.S. Soccer AGM meeting for like 3 days and just... Which
is way cool that you got to go to that. That's, I think, an honor.
Yeah, thanks to everyone that helped make that happen. It was just very cool to see an atmosphere like that and meet certain people and I've never had a lot of those situations or been in a lot of those like conference situations, meet and greets, like just hanging out in a lobby and you kind of have to like go and say hi to people.
Yeah, Zach's worst nightmare, actually, just socializing for a couple of days.
Yeah.
But I think that you've gotten really good at it. I think that you've gotten a lot better at like small talk, socializing.
Yeah, I'm not good at small talk for all the viewers.
He is, though. He lies.
No,
I think
I'm not
is.
Learning. I would rather go somewhere where there's something to do, play foosball, bowling. I like to do things. And then we have something to talk about. Watching a sports game.
Yeah. Okay.
I
see you.
I'm not just chit-chatting in the kitchen.
But he's very good at it. He doesn't think he is, but he's good at it.
I struggle in my head then. If I look like I'm good at it, then
you fake it very well.
I'm going a million miles an hour. So, but that was my peak.
Yeah.
It was interesting and just experiencing that and gotta meet.
What was your purpose for going to Texas for the general meeting it was for US Soccer, right?
Yeah, just trying to get U.S. Soccer has different extended national teams, and they have a disability committee amputee soccer, blind soccer, power soccer, deaf soccer, Special Olympics, CP soccer. And they want to include dwarf soccer into that as like
which is fracking awesome.
Yeah, extended national team. There's a lot of hurdles still and everything, and I'm learning a lot. Big thing is population of dwarfs versus some of these other, disciplines or whatever, disabilities. And learning a lot on how to form a nonprofit and do all that and comply with different laws, and so but that's why I was there.
That would be way cool if it ever happened, though.
Especially with the World Cup coming up.
Because that's what I was going to say. When is the World Cup?
World Cup's in 2026.
26.
But Copa America is this year. Next year is the Confederations Cup here in the United States. And then the Copa, and then 2027 is the Women's World Cup here in the United States. So lots of soccer in the United States.
We have lots of opportunities to bring awareness to dwarf soccer, which would be awesome.
One of these episodes, we just talk about soccer.
I would get so bored.
No, that's easy. It would be so easy.
I feel like it would just be you sitting there.
I could monologue.
And I would just...
Maybe we should do that. An episode of me just monologuing about soccer.
There we go.
Okay.
If you want to see it, let us know.
What was your peak?
Well, I got to spend a couple of days in my favorite place, which was Disneyland. So that was my peak.
Who'd you go with?
I got to go with my friends Monique and Lisa. And it was a girls' mom's trip, Galentine's, and it was fabulous. We had so much fun.
Yeah, you guys, someone called it Galentine's. I think Monique did.
Monique called it Galentine's, yeah.
And then I've seen that word now multiple times.
She invented it, man.
No, I've seen it like
but it should have been after that trip.
All these posts are popping up with Galentine's, and I'm like, I've never seen this word before, and now I see it all the time this year.
Yeah, it's a good word. It was a really fun trip. So there'll be an episode of Zach doing soccer and Tori doing Disneyland, and then we'll resume regular content.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's jump into it here. I think that, one of the biggest things, one of our biggest commonalities is parenting. I think you and I both really enjoy parenting and the psychology of kids. And
I think about it a lot.
I think that we're very reflective in that nature. Like, I think that you and I are constantly reflecting on our kids' behaviors, our behaviors. How could we have made that situation better? How could our kids have made that better?
Which, to be clear to everyone, there's a ton of situations
that we would do differently.
Telling ourselves we could have done better.
We could have done better.
It's very difficult.
Yes, that's definitely like a disclaimer. We are not claiming to be perfect parents, because we are absolutely not.
But it is definitely something that we reflect on a lot.
Yes. And it's something that brings us joy. Or at least for me, I think I dote on my kids and I just am obsessed with them.
Do spoil them
I do. But I'm constantly trying to be a better mom for them. And it's,
Just spoiling your kids being a better mom, though.
Do I spoil them? Or do I love them?
I said you spoil them, and then you said...
Do I spoil them, though, or do I love them? Get out of here.
Well, that's it. That's what I'm saying, though. Let's debate it. Like, that. There's a difference there.
Would they have had a Valentine if they woke up this morning?
They would have. It wouldn't have been as big as what you do for them. But
the balloon I got them was a little ridiculous.
That's what I'm saying. So...
I do love my kids.
You can love your kids. People shouldn't feel expected to do these big fancy things, and you could still love your kid with small, subtle gifts.
I think honestly, I do go out of my way to make it kind of ridiculous, and I try really hard not to look at Instagram, because Instagram, there's a lot of really cool moms out there, and I try not to get too wrapped up in making it look pretty, but instead just trying to make it look special or be special for our kids. And it's funny, this morning, it wasn't ridiculous, but it was fun. They had some cute little gifts waiting for them when they woke up on Valentine's Day morning. And
did you put it on social media?
No, I didn't.
That's good.
But it's funny because Jackson came home from school and he was being so sweet. I got him a little Lego set and he was building a Lego set all by himself in his room. And I was like, I just really want to show him some love right now and appreciation. And so I wrote on a notepad, I just wrote, "Will you be my Valentine?" And then I put yes or no, check which one. And I honestly think that brought him more joy than anything that he got this afternoon from like class or like for Valentine's Day that
a note.
Yeah, that little note from mom that I passed underneath the door trying to be all sly and sneaky, and he, found it and wrote a note back, and I really think that made his night.
Just for the record, I helped him spell out some stuff in his note to you.
Well, good.
So
we need those spelling tests to be a little bit more improved at first grade, man.
Yeah.
But
that's awesome.
I think we want to like kind of concentrate today, because again, we could go broad. We could go, there's a whole slew of different directions we could go. But I think today we kind of want to specifically talk about parenting kids with dwarfism, but also parenting kids with differences. I think that it's an interesting topic because it is different, I think that like we definitely have a different perspective than a lot of parents.
We don't know any different though either.
That's
also
very true.
Like we've been around a lot of babies. You've been around, you babysat, things like that, average height kids.
Yeah.
But actually parenting, we have 3 kids with dwarfism.
Yeah.
We should introduce them for anyone that.
Yeah, totally.
Jackson, Lila, and Josiah. So we have a 6-year-old Jackson. He's our first. Lila, which is 4.5. And then
you keep calling her 3. Homegirl is 4.
Yeah, she's 4. She's 4.5.
That's why we tell her you gotta take 4 more bites because you're 4.
Yeah. Oh, November. So she's a little less than 4.5.
Yeah.
Jackson is 6.5, and then Josiah is 1.5.
There you go. Good job.
Man, I had to think about that for a second.
It's a lot. It's a lot going on.
So yeah, 3 kids. They're all born with achondroplasia dwarfism.
I think one thing I want to put in, like, that I have felt super convicted and passionate about since becoming a mom, and like honestly having a television show where we talk about our kids, and now a podcast where we talk about our kids, I do want an accountability. Like I do want to be held accountable for, I really want to change how I talk about our kids. And just like a vague statement. Like, so instead of saying things like my son is a dwarf, or my dwarf son, or my husband is a dwarf, or my dwarf husband, I have felt super convicted to say, just change like slightly the narrative of how you talk about people with dwarfism. And that's my own conviction. And it might not even be offensive or anything to LPs. I like kind of doubt that it is, but it's just saying that, changing the narrative a little bit and saying my son who has dwarfism, my husband who has dwarfism.
That's a huge movement.
It's huge because I think that my biggest thing with being a mom to kids with dwarfism is I will never be able to relate to them in the way that you will. And I at least want to show them the respect that like you are not your diagnosis whatsoever. You are Jackson, Lila, and Josiah. And you are like, dwarfism does not define you in any way.
100%. I probably have a harder time, to your point. I'll probably have, like, I have a hard, like, for me, you describe someone, I can say, like Jackson, the dwarf, any, I can describe anyone.
Right.
So, but I do appreciate the thought, and I see what like that movement is trying to get to.
Right.
You're not defining them, and you're allowing them to choose whether, like, maybe that's what they want their identity to be in this lost big world of ours. When they get a little older, maybe like, hey, I am a little different. I own that, and I am Jackson the dwarf, or Lila the dwarf.
Well, and I think we want to be really mindful of like not trying to say that they're not different. They're not. You are different. You are different in the, aspect of you look different. You have this diagnosis, but that, doesn't define you.
It doesn't define them. Yeah.
And I think that I think that I go to this whole like, well, we're all different and God made us how he wanted us to be. And you own that. Like you own that. You stand up straight and you walk with confidence,
Yeah.
And I want my kids to really feel that and live that out.
Just saying, the soccer player with dwarfism, the kid at school with dwarfism.
Right. But the same, I think, can go for any diagnosis. I think that, you know, I whether you have kids who have Down syndrome, or you have kids who only have one arm, or you have kids who have, what is it, CP? Cerebral palsy. Like all of these different diagnoses. I mean, I would just never want my child to be defined by them.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah, and language is a big start and all that.
Yeah.
Not defining them, not pigeon-toeing them.
Right.
And then the more you say something, if you just say like Jackson the dwarf or whatever, Lila the dwarf, Josiah the dwarf, yeah, they start believing that. And
I think that, sorry, this is definitely like, clearly I have more to say on this than you do, but I think I've heard it too in the dwarf community, people talking about certain characteristics of dwarfism, not necessarily in how they look, but what they do. You know, the squat, we call it when they squat down and stuff like that. I think just bothers me when they're like, oh, they do that because they have dwarfism. And it's like, no, they do that because that's Lila. That's just what Lila does, you know? And I think I tend to take that a little personally, where like, I don't, you know, and that's me.
I have a thought.
Because, yeah, say it.
Being the guy with dwarfism.
Who's more qualified to talk on this topic?
Well, no, but it could be one of those things where like certain language is used among different cultures, and it's okay for that culture to say it, you know what I'm saying, but not okay for anyone else to say it, kind of thing. Dwarfism, same thing.
100%.
For me, like, yeah, that's the dwarf squat. Like,
yeah.
Heck yeah.
And it's okay for you to say that.
It, okay? But yes, if someone else says it, some average height, you know.
Average height.
But to your point, or something like that, like, yeah, hold on, don't define them.
Right.
But like amongst ourselves, we could definitely are like, oh yeah, that's the dwarf squat, you know?
And it brings commonality to you as well.
Not like pride, but like it is a little, like it's dwarf pride a little bit internally.
Right.
For me, there are certain things that are like, that's exactly what that is. Okay. So like,
right. So I have to definitely take things not so personally.
Yeah.
But
no, I get your point though. Yeah, you're defining them when really, yeah, they're just squatting, or
they're just squatting.
Not putting dwarfism behind, like as an adjective.
You don't do this because you have dwarfism.
Everything that they do, yeah.
Right.
But then there are totally things. So, but you don't want to erase it either. There are totally things we do that, like, you get 100 dwarfs in a room, 99 of us, Acons, I should say, achondroplasia dwarfs in a room.
Yeah.
99 of us are going to do the exact same thing, and that's totally okay. Okay. Right. So, what's some others? Okay, dwarf squat. Do you have any others, or?
Your mom always says socks, which my mom also drives me nuts on this, like wearing socks, because you guys always get so hot.
We don't like.
So you don't like wearing socks, which does not ring true for you or Jackson, which is why it kind of bothers me that both of our moms say it to me. They don't like wearing socks or shoes because dwarf feet. No. And I'm like, no, I think they just don't like socks or shoes. Like, leave them alone.
Yeah, no, I love socks.
I know. So that's why, I don't know. Your mom says it to me all the time. Like, oh yeah, their feet, they don't fit in shoes. And I'm like, no, they have 70 pairs of shoes.
That's one of those, you're right. Like, that's, you don't know if that's that. He could just not like socks.
He just doesn't like socks.
Or her, or whatever. Like, right. Because I like socks. Like, so now we're at a 50-50 in the family. Like,
we're all
does
over the
Josiah
place.
like socks? He takes them off. But he's
also
too young. One.
He's like, oh, this comes off and I have the option to wear this?
Yeah, then he screams out for you to put it back on. So,
yeah.
That's interesting. So identifying, I
think just that, like, just noticing that, like, I think that was my biggest, like, start to this topic is just, I don't want dwarfism to ever define our children, you know? And I think, honestly, in our household, we're in a super unique situation because in our household, dwarfism is very normal. You know, like, it's not until we leave our house and go somewhere else, or somebody comes in with our kids' ages, that I go, oh, right, our kids have dwarfism. You know, like, it's not until you see them with other kids that you recognize that they're different.
We're recognizing that more and more, especially with Jackson doing sports and having more play dates and all the boys come around and start running around.
Right.
I think Jackson's way cool though, and he's able to, you know,
like kids gravitate towards Jackson.
Yeah.
Like he's cool. He's confident in who he is, and I think that attracts other kids. Like I think other kids find that interesting.
But we do see it more and more. That's one thing parenting kids with dwarfism is, you know, and people will say stuff to us like, for me, it's no. Don't try and make me feel better here.
Don't give me pity.
I'm not
for my
like,
child.
Well, one, it's no. If he's falling behind now, it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
It just gets worse from here. So
and I think that I hear that a lot for moms.
Yeah.
Which like, if you're my friend and you're listening to this,
Oh,
please don't come at me. Like, I'm fine, but I do recognize it with moms. I feel like I do get more encouragement when Jackson. It's mostly Jackson, by the way. We're talking mostly about him in this situation because he's like the most out there with sports and school and all that. But I do feel like I get more encouragement from moms than other moms normally would. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if Jackson, let's say soccer, Jackson scores a goal, the moms and the parents on our team will celebrate a little bit harder when Jackson does it rather than when other kids do it.
Yeah.
And I think I've noticed that since becoming a mom. Like moms are very competitive. Mom's talking to mom is wild. And like I don't think I would play that game whether our kids had dwarfism or not, but moms like are competitive with one another. We'll never know. You're absolutely right. But but even with like silly stuff, just like when kids were starting to walk, they were like, is your kid walking yet? Your kid's not walking yet? Ooh, my kid's been walking for 2 months.
Questions that parents, moms weren't super quick to ask you though.
They weren't. And I never got asked. I mean, never say never, but like it was very rare that I got asked about our kids' developments, you know?
Yeah.
And in soccer, it was like all these things. I just feel like I sometimes hear more pity than I do genuine encouragement. And that's difficult.
Is that your own insecurity though?
It
that
could
you
totally
hear the pity?
be.
Yeah.
It could totally be.
But also the coaches. That's also the coach's son.
It's the coach's
so they
son.
could just
well, and also it's hard to distinguish because our kid is very likable.
Yeah.
And so it is just like, are his friends stoked because it's like, he's kind of cool.
They could just be rubbing the coach's ego.
They could. They 100% could. So you'll never know. Like, we'll never know. But I did notice it young, like, because I had friends who were very close and their kids were very close in age. And I would sit in a room with them and they would go back and forth with each other on everything, but never once look to me.
Totally. You've said that story multiple times.
Multiple times.
I think that is a society thing, though, too. Not just with our kids with dwarfism, but like when it's someone has some
when
sort
there's
of
an outlier
disability
somewhere.
or like they're not normal for some reason.
Right.
There's a huge celebration.
Also not normal. Don't say that. Say not average.
Not average. Not average. Well,
our kids are normal.
Sorry,
they're just
normal,
not average.
Not normal. I mean, like normal and physically normal.
Sometimes they're not normal, but
well, not.
I get what
it's
you're
not
saying.
should be
I
assumed.
get what you're saying.
Yeah. Anyway,
I just like to throw off your train of thought.
I know. Now you just throw off
exactly
my train of
what I
thought.
did.
I'm saying that that's not just with people with dwarfism. I feel like as a society as a whole.
Yeah.
I used to be okay with it, but I never really liked that whole letting someone do a charity shot in a real game. Just everyone kind of not play defense. I
understand
I remember that happened to me
situational.
though, and I just
Ooh,
used
it
to be
did?
embarrassed. Basketball recess, people were like, Zach, just shoot, you know? And I'm like, this isn't competitive. Like,
Wait, when did that happen to you?
recess or something. Not always like in a big stadium
Okay,
or
yeah,
something, but
but
like
still.
recess and like it was no, I want to play, and if I can't
Right.
play
I'm
or
gonna
you don't
compete.
feel good competing against me, I just shouldn't be here then, you know? Or like, I don't know. I'm not saying that's wrong.
Right.
Me personally, I get a little ick when I see that.
Right.
And sometimes it is a very special moment. Maybe it's a special moment for that kid. With our kids, I will probably be more hesitant. Like, they don't need a feel-good moment like that.
Right. Or at least not yet. They don't need it
Yeah.
yet. But I think that's also so important as a parent to recognize like what your child needs. Don't let other people make decisions for your child.
That leads me to my it's also, does your child need that or do you need that?
Oof.
Bless it.
Zachary, that was a good line.
I see that a lot though with parents, and especially I want to say it to everyone again, okay? I have dwarfism. If you're listening to this, if you're not watching the video,
Yeah.
Okay, so I speak when parents. I see a lot of parenting, average height parenting with kids with dwarfism, and I'm like, is that? And honestly, average height kids with average height parents, parenting in general, not just with dwarfism,
Right.
but they'll say my kid needs this, my kid needs that, and I'm like, hold on here, do you need that, or does your kid need that? Do you need that to feel better? Do you feel guilty that your kid came out with dwarfism, so now you're trying to overcompensate?
Right.
When really that's not going to help him. When your kid, in my opinion, especially with boys, because I'm a boy, or I'm a man. I grew up as a boy. Okay. I didn't.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah. I'm fascinated to watch Lila grow up.
Right. Oh, Lord help us all.
Not just she's a girl and a teenage girl and all
just,
that.
I know how I grew up, so
experiencing all
good
that,
luck.
but also as a dwarf, a girl with dwarfism. I'm very fascinated. I know the issues that a lot of boys go through. I'm interested to see more of what issues or situations girls face.
Right.
With
and
dwarfism.
I think that's why I got so emotional when I found out that Lila did have dwarfism, was because I know what girls go through.
Yeah.
Not with dwarfism, but girls. Girls are catty. Girls are savage.
Aren't girls more community though, based? Circle?
I think as I've gotten older, I honestly, I don't know. I'm in my 30s, and there's days where I think girls are like community and family, but there still are just a few and far between that I have found that I'm like, I want this chick on my side for all things. Girls can just be savage. We're dramatic, we're emotional, we're, all the things.
So boys are very much like this, in my opinion. Pyramid hierarchy. Yeah, pyramid hierarchy. Yeah. Who's the fastest, who's the strongest, and who's alpha, and then everyone else falls in. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So when you have dwarfism, you have to have a pretty strong charisma, personality, right, to overcome even shorter dudes, not just people with dwarfism, anyone. You have to have a pretty confident personality, I feel like.
Yeah.
And a lot of things when Jackson's friends come over, whatever, it's a lot of racing, it's a lot of fighting,
wrestling,
it's a lot of
running, climbing,
testosterone.
Yeah.
Girls
go to war.
They're more like,
let's read a book and play
game.
babies. And
so I do feel like she would fit in. She'll
hopefully.
Maybe it's when boys come into the situation.
Yeah.
But in the early stages, I do. Right? Am I wrong there?
We'll see. Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, but let me back up to my point though. I have parenting. Average height parents with boys that are dwarfs. There's a lot of coddling.
That have dwarfism.
Dwarfism. There's a lot of coddling. There's a lot of this and that. Babying.
Yes.
Sometimes though, because we look like babies, we can be a 3 or 6 and we can still fit them in a stroller and it looks okay.
But is that necessary?
But then you put a 6-year-old average height kid in a stroller and it's like, oh, that looks kind of strange.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of spoiling. Back to my point though, we need to grow up with a different confidence and charisma and everything like that. We have it up against us with society and everything like that. And we can make things more fair. There's never going to be equality. We're still 4 feet and the rest of the world is operating 2 feet above us.
Right.
There's
and I don't I think that's my biggest argument is the world's not fair. It's not fair, and nothing is going to be fair in this world. It's not
equal, yeah.
It's,
Can we strive for fairness, though? I don't think we can strive for equality.
You're right.
But we can strive for more fairness.
But I don't know. What does that mean, though?
I'm not
dwarfism?
Totally. I don't know.
I think equality, situational. I think you're right. Equality, we are not, no one is equal. That's just life. That's just how the world works, And I think that having dwarfism, and tell me if I'm wrong, but I think having dwarfism, it could be very easy for you to go, well, why me? And where did I go wrong? And why did God give me these cards? And I think it could be very easy to fall into that kind of mindset. And that's, I think, where we have to really strive to like help our kids to know, like, no, you just have to find your purpose, you know?
Totally.
But I think back to your point with average height parents, I think that I've met a lot of, I think I'm kind of in this weird in between because I'm average height, you know? And so I have my perspective of what I think parenting should be, but then I'm also parenting with someone who has dwarfism. But when I do tend to talk to average height parents, there are moments where you kind of want to be like, don't put his jacket on for him. Let him do it.
Yeah. Would you do that?
Don't make her make her walk instead of putting her in a stroller. Make her, just making, I think that there's like, we've gone to a lot of conferences or things that have parents who I think are seeking community. And I try to be really, what's the word? I try to be really just empathetic, I guess, and just like trying to listen. And I'm not a doctor. I cannot give medical advice and all of these things. But I think I try to really encourage average height parents to trust themselves. I think that when you're not expecting the diagnosis, that I can't imagine what that would feel like, to walk into a room and have a doctor tell you, I'm sorry, your child has dwarfism, and the mourning period that would happen after that. And I think that parents do probably have this tendency to then feel sorry for their kid.
Yeah.
And don't do that. Don't ever feel sorry for your kid. I think that's the easiest way to do them a disservice, is to feel sorry for them.
100%. Can I say my analogy?
Tell me.
I've said it before.
Say it.
It's about the babysitter.
I don't know I don't know this one. I don't remember.
Like with dwarf boys, when you're spoiling them, we have to have confidence, charisma, all this stuff. Like we're up against it. You know what I'm saying? That's totally cool. It's the cards, God gave us. Mm-hmm. When you spoil us, or a boy with dwarfism, and maybe a girl, that's what I'm still trying to learn. But spoil,
we haven't figured out the girl yet.
Spoil, baby,
right.
Coddle. You're coddling a 12-year-old, anyone. But those average height boys can get away with it, especially if they grow up to be 6'2", good looking. Right. They can flip that switch. They can look confident, even though they're treated,
right.
And internally they're still a baby. You know what I'm saying? Dwarf boys don't have that privilege. And then you're saying like, oh, the analogy is, okay, why can't my kid get a girlfriend? None of the girls like him because he's short. Is it because he's short, or we look, when we're 16, 17, 18, we look like we're 8. Right. We're the same height as an 8-year-old. The babysitter girl, the girl babysitter, that's the same. We look like the 8-year-old she's babysitting on the weekend. Mm-hmm. And are we acting like it too?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So she has, it's already a different thing to date someone shorter than her. Our society is all about it. We talk about it all the time with height. Oh yeah, height,
girls,
height. Yeah. Okay, so how are we helping our boys come to those moments in life, in high school?
I mean, I hear
socially.
I hear it all the time, Zachary. Yeah. All the time. I hear discussions about height.
Yeah.
Not just in relationships, but also Johnny grew 4 inches last year.
It's a huge part of our society, which is not a bad thing.
Totally,
though. It's totally
and a lot of times it's like small talk. It's like small talk of oh, this is how much Johnny grew this year, or talking about a relationship. But I like to tell this story. In high school and college, I was very tall. I was always very tall for my age. I towered over the boys in school for most of my school age. And boys who ever showed interest in me, if they were shorter than me, I instantly wrote them off. I was like, no, he's too short.
Jerk.
I know it was. But it wasn't until I met you that I realized I was writing them off not because of their height. That's just what I used. That's just was oh, Johnny's too short for me. But in reality, it was just, no, his personality and his everything else that goes along with him is
There's
not.
usually a huge insecurity with being short, and so you come off immature.
Yeah,
or you're just immature
exactly.
because you were, if you have someone with dwarfism, it could be you were spoiled, coddled, whatever else. And then these girls do maybe date you for a minute, but then they start mommying you, and that's what you fall into. You enjoy that because that's what you're used to, and that's not a healthy relationship.
Expert on dating. If you've watched,
I'm just saying. There's an interesting. Not all parents do this. Not all
and this isn't the same for everyone. It's just like
every situation's a little different. It's just some things that I've observed.
Right.
You know, and it's
And so I think it's important as parents when we're bringing up our kids to just honestly constantly remind them and encourage them that, you know, this is how God made you and you have a purpose. And I can remember watching I don't know if I saw on a show, on an episode of your show, or if I just saw it somewhere like on the internet, but you were sitting on a soccer ball and you were talking to your mom, I think, and you were saying, you know, I don't know why I'm short, but I know that God has a plan and I'm just waiting for that plan. And I think that that's so true. You know, like I want our kids to know that God has a purpose for your life and it's your job to go out and figure what that is, you know? And I hope that builds confidence. I hope their relationship with the Lord builds confidence in who they are.
Yeah. That message alone gives them the confidence they need.
Yeah.
Also setting them up for certain situations.
Right.
How we approach certain situations when they fall, when they need something.
And our kids are so blessed because they have dad, they have grandma, and they have grandpa. They literally have all of these people in their lives that are like, oh, they're cool people. Like they're people that we love and that we care about. And I'm just like them.
It's finding that balance between like where do you not spoil them, but like they need that love, they need that encouragement. Maybe they do need a little help here, where maybe you wouldn't help someone else. You would say, hey, you can do it, finish the race, you know. Or it's where you need to finish this, even though you're in last place right now. These situations right here, you're gonna have more of these situations in your life than any other situation. So why wouldn't we prepare them for that now?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying, like that. Where we are still at the finish line. Mom and dad are still at the finish line. Because later on in life, they're going to have to finish last in a race. Yeah. And the embarrassment that comes with that, the pain, whatever. But then mom and dad aren't at the finish line. It's coworkers. Right. It's people that just don't. It's just life. Life is at the finish line.
Right.
Not loving, caring parents. You know what I'm saying? And so, get them to finish that, even though it's painful, as long as they still have you at the line. But if you grab them before they're finished, you know, that's what they start learning, and that's just not helping them. Right. It makes them feel good right now. Yeah. Maybe it makes you feel good right now.
Right.
You know, and we have this issue regardless of dwarfism in parenting. I feel like 100%. You might feel good right now. They feel good right now. But is that really, you know, finding the moments where maybe sometimes that's life. Both of us cannot feel good right now, but it's for a bigger long term. You know, now long term we will feel better about this repetitive situation. Right.
And like the cliche of like you're going to be better on the other side because you got through it, you know. I think that that's a great point. Yeah.
So that's my thing on parenting, especially with parenting boys with dwarfism.
But then I also think we do a really good job here at home of like we do not do everything for our kids. Oh. And I think that's huge. Like it's annoying for me, but we have 18 million stools around our house.
No, see, that's the thing. We don't. We have 2.
We have as many stools as we need around the house. Okay. But it is like there's just certain accommodations that you put into your house so that your kids can.
Can I say something to all the moms out there if they're still listening? I don't know if I've offended them yet. Okay. I say this to Tori though too. Okay. She'll complain about our stools.
I hate our stools.
Okay. Your inconvenience, little stub toe.
I know. My broken toe. Broken toe. But yeah.
Your inconvenience, though, if that empowers our kid to feel like they can go get breakfast on their own,
100%.
Use the toaster.
That is why the stools are here.
You know what I'm saying? Which one matters more? You know what I'm saying?
Okay, but hold on. You're making it sound like you don't have stools. I have stools all over
We
my
have two,
house.
and you complain
But
about
I'm just
them
saying, the stools that we have are ginormous. Okay.
4 people with dwarfism in this house. We have 2 stools.
But we have 2 stools in our main area. Okay. And our kitchen, it's a very large kitchen, and I'm very grateful for my kitchen, but it can only fit 2 stools. Okay.
I want everyone with dwarfism listening to this, especially if you're an older dwarf, to tell Tori what the ratio should be. Okay.
If we had 4 stools, no one could move. And also all 10 of my toes would be broken.
What should the ratio be? 4 dwarfs in a house, 1 kitchen.
Zachary picks these stools though, which they're DAS stools. They are fantastic, but they are built for like, you could throw those things out of a window and they would not get a scratch on them. It's not like those cute little dainty plastic stools. No, they're metal. If you kick them, whew, that's why I wear slippers. Sorry, there's probably dirty, but I wear slippers in my house because of the stools that are everywhere. But I do it because I love my family. I love my family, and I want my family to be able, I want my kids to be able to get up in the morning, leave me alone in bed, go make themselves some cereal, and eat breakfast without me.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think we're just here, just doing our best as parents, and we're learning as we're going.
Totally.
You know, we thought we were really good at parenting. Like, we had Jackson, and we're like, oh my gosh, we're so good at parenting. Like, we should have 10 kids because they're all going to be perfect.
Oh, yeah.
We're so good at what we do. And then we had Lila, and then we had Josiah, and then we realized God humbled us very quickly.
100% Jackson.
Each kid is different, and you have to parent each kid differently.
Yeah. What are some pros of having kids with dwarfism?
Oh, I know my number one.
Go.
They will wear clothes for a solid year. Yep. A solid year. Our kids will like 2 years, maybe 2 years. Like their Christmas outfits.
Winter coat, they can go 3 years.
Yeah. I bought their Christmas outfits this year, and that was the first time I've bought Christmas outfits in 2 years.
Yeah.
Like the boys had the same shirts, or not just I because he wasn't born, but Jackson had the same shirt 2 years in a row. Yeah. And this year was the first year that I got him. Yeah.
At this age. Later on, clothes get a little annoying.
Shoes, though, too. Like, shoes, the last... Because my friends have to buy shoes for their kids every month.
6 months, yeah.
No, it's month.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. And ours are like, they'll wear through a pair of shoes before we have to change. Like, when we'll get the same size. So, that's definitely the best. That's pro.
People with dwarfism grow really slow.
Yeah.
Like maybe 1 inch, 2 inches a year for all the viewers. Okay. Mm-hmm. We have a measurement, height chart.
Yeah.
Hanging up
Ours
in the hallway.
Ours is getting a little crowded.
Yeah. And between like 2 feet and 3 feet, okay, there's like 12.
There's just names every inch.
There's like a name every inch. Okay. And Josiah hasn't even gotten into that realm yet. Okay.
It's getting a little crowded on our board.
In like a year, we'll do the mark again on their birthday, and it's like 1.5 inches. It's
1.5 inches. But we celebrate it. So. Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Okay, so pros of having kids with dwarfism: clothes.
Do you have any more?
Yeah.
What's the other one?
When they're babies and you can hold them, and they're very like
I would have
manageable.
no idea what to like. Sometimes I hold an average height baby, and I'm like, what do you do with all of this?
Their legs and their arms are everywhere, and at least me when I'm shorter, I guess. But like when I've held our niece, or like at 1.
Well, even my best friend just had a baby, 3 months old. She was 3 months old, and I sat all dinner holding this baby, and I'm like, this child is as big as my 1.5-year-old.
Yeah,
like this. She's 3 months old, and I'm like, she is as big as my. I loved every minute of it, but she is as big as my 1.5-year-old.
Yeah. I say that's a pro though. They're very just.
It would have been an interesting dynamic to see you with an average height baby.
Yeah.
You know, like for me, that would be like average. Just that's what moms do. But it would have been interesting to see, because Jackson would have been taller than you already. Yeah. I don't know of any mixed couple that has all of their children have dwarfism.
Yes, I agree with you. I don't know any either. Oh. I asked someone.
Okay, so I'm sure that, but like, it's not as common because a lot of times it's supposed to be 50-50. So a lot of times one average height parent and one parent who has dwarfism, they'll have at least one average height kid. I'm just convinced Zach's dwarf gene is very strong.
Yeah, but we could have advertised if we had more. You have 100
But that's also
kids.
like, you know, in the parenting realm of everything, that's, I think, a reason why we don't, not the only reason, but a reason why we don't want to have any more kids is imagine your fourth child having, like, being average height. That would like throw, it would be fine. And it would be great. It would be great. But it would throw off the dynamic of like how we raise our kids.
Yeah, our kids, our other kids would look at that baby like,
baby come out as big, you know, just
Mom, Dad, what'd you do?
Yeah, what's wrong with this kid?
Heathen.
Except for Lila. Lila is so obsessed with babies, and I like want to have another baby just because she's so obsessed. She
stalked a baby all during the Super Bowl party.
The Super Bowl, she just held that little baby's hand.
Oh, the baby bounced around the house. It doesn't matter who was holding the baby.
Lila just was like, I need to be with that baby. Yeah. That baby needs to have me next to it.
Oh yeah. So.
Oh yeah.
No one told her to go away though, so it was cute.
No, but I think that this is just the start. We're just, you know, scratching the surface on parenting, and I think that as things come up in our lives and as different experiences happen to us, I think we will enjoy sharing it.
You were speaking about, you have me as kind of a bridge,
right?
But then you do feel kind of isolated at times in the conversation with other moms.
Yeah,
I do feel for that couple that are both average height. You know, they have that dwarf child, and they don't have that bridge, and they feel really isolated. It's nowhere in their family. No, they've never even heard of this before. Yeah, you know.
And I think that that's a huge like asterisk that we do need to like put on there is like, you like, or I don't even know how to say that, but just parents, they're just doing the best that they can, and that's all that you should do ever, you know. But I think that that's been something that I hope we have helped people with, especially with social media, is watching our family and knowing like, hey, it's going to be okay. You're going to be fine.
Is it fair though to say like, you know, parents are doing the best they can, but like, I hope this episode is a resource. Yeah. Here are some things I've seen that I don't feel like are best practice. I hope so. And take it or leave it. But looking long-term future, you know, here's some things that you can consider.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
Oh, 100%. I mean, you're talking to somebody with dwarfism. Yeah. You're talking to somebody who's gone through it. Like, that's the best resource that you could possibly get.
I'm not, like, super in... Yeah. No, I agree. I'll leave it at that, I guess.
Like I said, we could go on and on and on about parenting. I think that this is just the first of many conversations around parenting, and if you guys have questions or a certain topic that you want to see, make sure you like
speak in the comments or feedback, or honestly if you disagree with us too. I love that stuff.
Ooh, spicy.
Yeah, no, I love it. Like if it's a clear, thought out, articulate disagreement,
not like you guys suck at parents, don't.
Yeah, like
well, because that's a whole other, we could open that can of worms some other episode, but that's, you know, questioning others' parenting is very infuriating. And I think that when you put your life out for people to watch and people condemn you for it, it's very difficult to like hold your tongue and not say anything.
Didn't we just do that though? Didn't we just question parenting in this episode?
I didn't call anyone out specifically.
Got it.
But I think that like a lot of times parents look at us probably not even parents, people look at us and they, you know, they look at Jackson's legs and they're like, I can't believe that they're not doing anything to help their children. And it's just
that's them making a conclusion off no observation whatsoever.
Right.
That's them spitting off on the internet without any thought. Too many people do that on the internet. Too many people spit off
it's
based
blind.
off no observation,
right?
No research, no let me look at a few other things before I say something,
right?
So that's a whole
I think that could be a whole other episode, just parenting and like doing what's best for your kids. Like we are doing what's best for our kids. But
I would say like continue to challenge yourself to ask that question though. Are we doing what's best for our kids? True. Or are we doing what's best for me, for society, for
and I think after this episode, the biggest question to ask yourself is, does it make you feel better or does it make your child feel better?
And we're guilty of that. Doing 100%. Things that make our spoiling them. And
100%.
So, do you get what I'm saying, though?
100%.
I'm saying, like, let's go deeper with that, though. Like, I'm not later on, another episode, but I'm not so big on, like, that feel good. Everyone, is doing their best. Sometimes, no, people aren't.
They could do better. Like that sort of thing.
Yeah, they can do better. Do 100%. Your best, forget the rest. But continue to ask yourself, are you doing the best?
Yeah.
Are you doing the best you can? Like that, don't touch me, and any criticism is
100%
is not fair either, though. Like, sometimes when you hear good, articulate criticism, listen. It can be helpful.
It can be difficult. Like, I know I struggle with that, but it's important. It's important to hear criticism, and we want to be better people for our kids and the next generation. So ask the hard questions.
Yeah. So, great episode, though.
This was fun.
Yeah. Great topic.
I feel like, again, we scratched the surface. I could keep going for hours, and but if you're still with us at the end of this podcast, thank you for listening and for being here. Make sure that you like and subscribe and listen everywhere you can hear podcasts, and let us know what you guys want to hear on future episodes, especially about parenting, because we love it.
Yeah.
Right?
Love it. No, I love it. Parenting and the psychology behind parenting and kids, and why kids do what they do. Is it a personality? You don't want to change the personality. You want to look at the behavior that the personality sometimes exhibits. But you don't want to kill the personality. Yeah. All that stuff is very fascinating to me.
Let's do it. That'll be the next one.
All right. Sign off.
All right. Do your best. Forget the rest.